Now, the majority of SOEs in South Africa, that's Eskom, Transnet, SAA and Denel, continue to face dire financial strains. For years now, the companies have been receiving bailouts after bailout from government, causing widespread outrage from the public. However, not all is lost, as the Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa is, according to some, bringing a glimmer of hope. The IDC has recorded a groundbreaking increase in both funding and profit for its past financial year. Now, despite the economic challenges that the country is facing, the IDC has funded businesses to a total of about 20 billion rand. That's an increase of almost 30%. Let's help you get a sense of how the IDC is doing things differently and bring in its CFO, that's Isaac Malevu, who joins us now via our telephone line. And Isaac, it's lovely to have you on the program. Thanks very much indeed for making time. You know, in any kind of context, I suppose it's expected that a company would be doing its best to ensure that it's running at a profit. But because this is so few and far between for SOEs, the IDC stands out. What do you reckon it is that you do specifically at this institution that allows you to get things right?
Good afternoon, Ayan, and good afternoon to your viewers. Thank you very much for the opportunity. We are very pleased with the set of results we've produced. And I do think it's a collective effort of both the management, supported by our board, who've been at the helm for quite some time, and which talks to stability, and also the shareholder, who's been very supportive. But what's very important, Ayanda, is that over the years we've made good investments in terms of equity investments, which have been able to pay us good dividends. As you've noticed, most of our share portfolio, i.e. the investment that is made in the listed, are largely in the commodity sector. So they've been able to pay us good dividends with the commodity boom that they've experienced in the last 18 months. We also do extend loans and advances, and our clients, as they start to repay, they've been able to pay us good interest income and be able to repay their capital. And lastly, we've been very happy with the performance of our subsidiaries, in particular, Fosco, which is in the fertilizer business. They've really turned around, and their plans to continue to turn around are starting to yield positive results. Overall, we're happy.
Right, absolutely. I can imagine. I'm sure happy is an understatement. It really is a good news story in the sea of bad examples when it comes to SOEs. Sikonati Manchancha, who of course used to work for Eskom and before that was a journalist, is among those who kind of shone the spotlight on the good work that the IDC is doing. And part of the things he highlighted as perhaps have contributed to your success is having stable leadership, but also it appears, maybe through some miracle, the IDC has been able to avoid what Sikonati describes as clueless politicians who have a lot of power. Do you reckon that's also part of the reason why, at the very least, there's been a fair amount of stability at this institution? The fact that you didn't necessarily have politicians meddling in your operations, as has been the case in many other SOEs?
That's correct. And, you know, we're very fortunate to have Mr. Ibrahim Patel, who's our shareholder representative, and indeed always received support from him in terms of ensuring that as an institution we continue to deliver on our mandate. But not only that, but ensuring that there is stability at the board level and even at the executive level. Of course, you know, there will be a movement in terms of our CEO, but we've since announced in the market that there will be an interim CEO. But overall, I do believe that it helps us not to feel that we are being politically, there is a political intervention in our strategy and also in the execution of our mandate.
Absolutely. Speaking about that mandate, for those who don't know, of course, the IDC, broadly speaking, is essentially there to support entrepreneurs in this country, and it's across the spectrum. And what a task that is, given just the economic climate that you have to do that in our country. Do you sometimes feel like you're swimming upstream? You know, there you are, making the right choices when it comes to your own investments, paying out dividends and supporting some of these entrepreneurs. But sadly, it feels that they just aren't operating in the kind of environment that allows them to flourish.
Indeed, Ayanda. I mean, I'll give you an example. 60% of our clients, they do depend on the fully functioning, well-run logistics support. So they do want to be able to move their products by rail and by, when it rail doesn't work, by road. But we found them to be affected by the logistical challenges, in particular where Transnet is involved. But as you know, we do support where we can. But also the rising interest rates and also the difficult macroeconomic condition has had an impact on our clients. But by and large, where there is a malfunctioning or some challenges in the logistics and in other aspects, such as load shedding, our clients do get impacted. But, we don't lose hope. We continue to support where we can, and we continue to find ways to solution for some of these challenges.
Absolutely. It's an important story to highlight, especially for those who are disillusioned that anything good could ever come out of SOEs. There we have the Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa in some ways leading the way. And before I let you go, though, Isaac, because I imagine, look, plenty has been said about what it will take, for instance, to fix some of the other SOEs. Given the fact that this is some way a route you've walked yourself, what do you reckon ought to be the advice, for instance, to an Eskom CFO, a Transnet CFO, a Denel CFO, who hopefully are also trying to turn the tide there?
Yeah, I think it is a very important question, but a difficult one when it comes to just understand the complexities that face some of these state-owned entities. In my view, I think the support of the board is very important, and the board that has a long-term view in terms of what needs to be done and how to go about solving some of the challenges we have. The second thing, it is indeed the support of the shareholder. In this instance, it must be the responsible ministry. And by support, I do mean being able to provide a space for the board and the management to really do their job, but also support them financially by giving confidence to the market that in the event there is a shortfall of funding, they will step in and they will step in decisively without any delays.
Yeah.
And then lastly, it is to ensure that as the private sector is invested in the economy, they also do provide support, they collaborate with the initiatives by the public sector.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Speaking about support, I imagine having staff that are on board is also an integral component of the success that we're seeing. How, as a CFO, do you balance, for example, making sure that your staff is incentivized and it's not necessarily lured to the private sector, versus making sure that you're also spending money at the IDC, which is a public institution, responsibly?
Ayanda, you've hit the nail in the head. That's a very challenging task. What we do try and do at the IDC is to amplify our employees' value proposition, which really look at the financial incentive and the non-financial incentive. And first and foremost, the purpose of the IDC has to be understood, but also in terms of supporting our employees. For example, we have things like hybrid working model, whereby 2 days in the week the employees can come to the office. The other days we can work from home. And we also provide them with the support in terms of their personal development. We also provide support in terms of enabling them with productivity tools. But financially, I think that is where the challenge is. We're finding the commercial banks and other institutions approaching our staff because in some instances they are able to offer them with those financial incentives. What we try and do, though, we try and pay a fair and a competitive remuneration so that our employees can still appreciate that we do look after them. Very challenging task indeed.
Absolutely. Very complex as well. Isaac Malevu, once again, thanks very much indeed for your time. Really do appreciate it. Isaac is the CFO at the Industrial Development Corporation.